we're always seeing a half picture. We're never seeing the full picture. And looking at that half picture,
I would say the biggest reach we have is the Creative Visionary Program, which we're in the process of launching right now. And
you've also spoken, I also read about it, like, how you thought like the idea of starving.
I just wanted that dream. And what's challenging with that dream when you begin is that you can't always see the kind of art that you can imagine. You don't know how to make it yet. You don't.
Welcome to the podcast, Nicholas. How are you doing?
Doing very well, thank you. It's lovely to be here and meet you.
Same here. Thank you so much for being here with us, and I'm very excited because I really love the work that you're doing. I remember you, being the person on these reels and videos, because a lot of your reels have been on Instagram, and you've been teaching art. But before we go there, how about you introduce yourself for people who are listening to us right now?
Well, I'm an artist. I've always been an artist. That's predominantly what I've done in my life. But along the way, I started to learn how to become an artist and how to find my way. And I started teaching this when I started to unlock some ideas and different processes, and I began to share it. And it just grew from there. I started with small destination workshops. I brought my approach, which it is an approach that I worked for me, and I started teaching this online, and and that's when it really took off. So I'm basically I help people find who they are and what they're doing here, and they use art to do that. So um, that's that's sort of what I'm very involved in that now, and I'm making art at the same time. So they go together really well. Everything I'm learning, I am learning from the process of making my art. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have a company. We have teams of coaches, and we do online programming. And we teach thousands of people all over the world. And we still do those destination workshops where we meet up in different parts of in Europe and different locations, and do smaller workshops. But
Okay.
I would say the biggest reach we have is the Creative Visionary Program, which we're in the process of launching right now. And we teach thousands of people in this program, a 12-week program.
Okay. Tell me something, Nicholas. What I find interesting about your journey is that I think I'm always intrigued by people who have a very layered journey and how they've tried their hands and experienced so many different ways. From what I know, you have had your own fair share of experiments in life, being a creative, being lost to trying so many things, being at business, products, all of those things, and now finally coming here. Can you look back? And this is a question that I think, and the journey a lot of us take. I've been there. What has been your experience and learnings from, finding yourself through these experiences of being a creative and then coming here?
Well, there it has been the struggles. I mean, I wanted to make art. I wanted to become an artist, and I resonate with your story so much, Charuka. It was really
Yeah.
I just wanted that dream. And what's challenging with that dream when you begin is that you can't always see the kind of art that you can imagine. You don't know how to make it yet. So you don't have a lot of evidence,
Right.
but you still have this desire, right? And that's difficult. And so there's a certain degree of faith you need in order to continue.
Right.
So I was very focused on trying to understand how to make art, how to do it in a way
Okay.
that was sustainable, and how to make art that I loved.
Right.
And I came up with an approach that when I started sharing it with people, mostly because I spent so much time by myself in my studio. I started teaching,
Yeah.
and just to be around other artists, and I taught them my approach. And what I saw that what happened was people could progress so quickly. What took me 10 years, people could figure out in a week or so. And I was so impressed, and it had to do with the information and the way I was sharing it, and the sequence and the hierarchy of this information. So I kind of I learned a approach, and that's what I teach. It's a completely different way of being, and there's fundamental principles we can use, but it's all about finding who you are and the kind of work you want to make in this lifetime. And when we get clear on that, the art gets so good, and it has impact, and it sells, and it spreads. And so I really help people find that in themselves.
Tell me something. What do you think is the biggest barrier, the biggest mindset block artists have in the beginning of the years that you think once they get through that, they're really able to move the needle a lot?
I mean, there's a few. I think there's a big limiting belief around talent, that people think that some are ordained with talent more than the others, or that we're not eligible. And one of my company, Art to Life, the primary one of its core beliefs, and it's what I teach and what I know from many decades of teaching, is that this is nothing to do with talent. Creativity
Absolutely.
given to everyone in equal measure. It's just if you're interested and if you're passionate. And I know you know this, but
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, people, we don't necessarily believe in ourselves, and it takes time to develop the confidence to see the results, to start that upward cycle of momentum and enthusiasm. But it's an unlocking, it's an unfolding of who we are and who we're becoming.
Absolutely. Tell me something. You've also spoken, I also read about it, like, how how you thought like the idea of staffing most of your time in the studio versus how to market your work with confidence, how to have that faith. What are your suggestions for artists who are struggling with building that confidence and putting the work out there?
Yes. Well, my approach, you can go and learn some business tactics. You can post more on Instagram, but none of that matters unless you are 1,000% excited about what you're doing. You have to be involved with something, at least in art, in fine art, in something that brings you alive.
Yeah.
And before anything else can happen, we have to look at your work, and we have to feel your enthusiasm and your energy.
Yeah.
And that's an inside job. You get to do this on your own. That doesn't cost anything. This is the work that we're doing in the Creative Visionary Program. We're helping people find their way to what really lights them up. And once that happens, there's an energy with it, there's a frequency with it, and others are attracted to that. There's a certainty that your work can show the world, and that's incredibly magnetic. People come for that. And so, yes, we need to learn how to promote our work, but the confidence, uh, the artifact of who we are and who we're becoming, and getting that going, that's what drives the career. It really does.
Yeah, that's true. Because what has been in your own journey, what do you think has been a turning point where you felt like you finally found that creative that you are? Can you specify an experience, or let's say a moment in your own life where you feel like you've arrived home? Because I know that you've also spoken about doing several different things, feeling lost and then coming back. But there are so many different, like, how how has that felt like? What did Can you share a few experiences from your own life?
Yeah, I would say that I think the moment for me that I became um,
Yeah.
that I really realized that I was on a path that there was some that what I'm sharing today actually is true is came out of a time in my life where I had a lot of misfortune, a lot of I lost all my income, my marriage fell apart. I had just a lot of hardship, and the only thing, and I lost my confidence.
That is true.
I mean, I lost everything. I lost my self-esteem. I lost my self-respect. I really was in a dark place.
That, yeah.
But it was the art that I had always done. I'd always made art, but it was the art that I started to make that kind of brought me back to the surface of things. And this is the power of art. When you can see who you are through something that you're making. I mean, this is so important for us to make something outside of ourselves. My whole life can be in disarray, but I made that, and that isn't. So something's going on here, and that brought me out, lifted me up, and gave me energy, and kind of gave me life. And it qualified me to teach, I feel, because I know what it's like to have, to have no confidence, to really question everything. But I know 1,000% that this is available, and I set off on a mission to do this for myself, which I did, and now I help others do it, and I've seen it 1,000 times now, and it really is possible, and it really comes from small steps, but moving towards what brings you alive, and letting things go that no longer serve you, and all the games we play with, um,
We were good enough.
you know, stories that people tell us about ourselves, the art teachers that didn't think this isn't this. We have to get involved, back involved with becoming who we're here to become. And I really believe that that's a sort of
Yeah.
a, a, a gift that we all get to have in this lifetime, that we get to unfold.
I love that. You also speak a lot about finding joy in the studio. A lot of times, I think something that comes as a common pattern is when artists are young, I think the nascent stage, the passion is so fresh and untouched. But as you start to take it seriously, a lot of times trying to make it, we push ourselves so hard that the only thing that we love so much, that starts to become, there comes resistance, and you start to feeling like you're not good enough, and it a lot of time it takes the joy away, and you feel like, okay, now I have to do another. It becomes more like a job than it was something that you were doing from your heart and soul, and a lot of, and that really, I don't know, it may be controversial, but I also feel that in the beginning, when we're trying to let's say monetize our art, and a lot of times when people don't know how to do that and they feel lost, that comes as a grudge and as an outcome. Can you share your thoughts on what do you mean by finding joy again and being in the studio, and why that matters so much to you?
Yes. So what tends to happen, or what can happen, is that the we still have a lot of thoughts about our art. We didn't sell any, or somebody said something about it, or others are so much further ahead. We scroll on Instagram and we see people that are much better, and what are we doing? And I'm not selling anything, and all the thinking and all the swirling around it.
Yeah.
But what's really, really critical for your listeners to realize is that is not art. That has nothing to do with it. That isn't the thing that art is.
Yeah.
Art is when you have that brush or whatever the thing is, and you go and you start making that mark on the paper, and you drop in to what is happening in front of you, and you become in the present.
Yeah.
And it's miraculous, really. It's a wonder. It can be more playful. Just the feeling of doing the thing and reconnecting to that. You gotta just postpone worrying about it,
Yeah.
but let the activity
Younger. Yeah.
bring you sustenance. It is so beautiful to be able to use colors and play and learn. And that's what we were doing when we were young with crayons on paper. How we have to be. It's selling art and being famous, and like you'll get all that maybe, but you will certainly won't get it if you're not enjoying this. We need to think of our art making as a vacation from our life. We have to think of our art making as a little chance in the day when we're absolutely, utterly 1000% free.
Yeah.
When we're free, when we get to be who we want to be, and there's no one looking over our shoulder, and we can do whatever we want,
Yeah.
then our soul can come in and our soul can express ourselves. We can become more self-expressed because everything's fine and it's okay to be that. And that's the kind of work that sells. That's the kind of work that has a unique signature. That's the kind of work that is the art of your life. That is personal work. That's a business plan right there. And I know we're not talking about business, but if you want to get a business plan, that's it. Drop in. And I don't care if you're, 20, 30 years into your career, if it's not just like feeling good to you a lot of the time, you get to rearrange this. You've got to find that again. Yeah.
How do you say, how do we remove ourselves from these judgments? I think that there's a lot of this, the imposter syndrome, then there's this inner critic, and there's such, I think a lot of times there's a lot of self-criticism. And I think social media has a lot to do with how artists are right now. And there is so much constant comparison on the facade. Like, I've seen two kinds of people, and we all know that. There are artists who have millions of followers and very little income. And then are artists on social media who wouldn't probably necessarily have that kind of followership, but they do make an income from their art. Now, I think what is confusing a lot of times is we correlate followers with success. And it could be, if that is something that you're chasing, but this self comparison, what looks like what on the front end versus what is on the back end, we're always seeing a half picture, we're never seeing the full picture. And looking at that half picture, we're making assumptions about ourselves, not about someone else. We're not thinking, oh, how good this person is. We're thinking how bad, how insufficient I am, how I am not good enough, how I am not doing this. Or I recently spoke to an artist, and she was like, I don't think I can make it because I can't make videos. And what's so heartbreaking is it is just not that one person. There's so many people who think that way, because that's how things have started to look like now. What is your advice on dealing with such situations?
Well, wow. I would say that the confidence, the rise of confidence and feeling good
Yeah.
comes from your art, comes from getting more connected to what brings you alive. And yes, you get to take steps. Maybe if you haven't posted on Instagram before, it's a real big step to post something, but you get to challenge yourself. You get to just go out a little bit over time.
Yeah.
But your confidence and your forward momentum, um, it's just going to come out. If you get more on fire with what you're doing, that energy will help propel you forward, and to understand that the journey that you're on, especially if it's scary, especially if you've never posted before, especially if you're comparing yourself, that know that artists and people who follow artists, and like, it is so okay to share your journey, especially if you're struggling in the beginning. That's really inspiring for people. Like, I have never done a video, you guys, and I'm just doing it. And I'm sure it looks horrible, but I'm doing it. That is a powerful viral video. You have to do not feel you have to be something you're not. You have to make art that feel that you love, and you have to be who you are. That is the only business game in town. Do not try to be something. Do not think of having a front facade or a back facade.
And how do we do that?
Be authentic. Authenticity is unlocks everything in art, especially, but also, what was that?
What's your advice? How do we do that? What is your advice on taking that first step for people trying to get through themselves, dig deeper, find out who they truly are?
Right. Well, you reach out, you connect with people who believe in you and support you. We know who those people are, right? We know who kind of supports us. You hang around, you listen to podcasts like this that give you some ideas about some different ways of being.
Yeah,
Being an artist is a completely different way of being than the rest of the people on this earth. We're incredibly sensitive, and we're driven to make something. We're driven to express ourselves. And
right.
it doesn't go away. The tug doesn't go away. Our soul wants this for everybody. Everyone's got this inside of them. And we need to listen to this. And we listen when we're making art and start producing it. Make work. And I made this, and then I made this, and I made this. And the artwork can help give you momentum. Look at what you've made. Look at where it's taking you. Talk to people about it. Share what you're going through. Um, and it's small steps. You just need to move towards what it is you want. If you've never, if you want to get more followers, try, sharing something that's real, right? Tell the world a little bit. Start with your mom and her friends and 30 people, and send an email out once every 6 weeks telling people what's going on. I made 7 things. I didn't like any of them, but I liked this one. Check it out.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, that's how you build this. You have to talk to people who support you, and they'll come to you. They'll show up if you're honest. You have to be vulnerable. You have to share what you're doing. It is inspiring
yeah,
at any stage, especially in the beginning. People who are in the beginning, they don't realize, like, they are sitting there, they have a really powerful message because they are going from one thing to another. They're trying to change, and it's radical to go from somebody who doesn't do a lot of art and they're trying to do this more. That's amazing, and so many people in the world would love to do this, and most won't. So tell the story of how you're doing that, and show them the proof, show them the art, and get excited when you make something that is better than you've made before. It's okay. We all start out, it's not very good. Make art that's not very good, but when you make something that's good, tell us, because it's a pretty great day.
that is true. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Thank you so much for your wonderful advice. What is your any last piece of advice for anyone who's listening to this episode right now?
I would say that the answer is within you. It doesn't come from marketing. Everything you seek is sitting right below the surface of yourself. It's sitting there. It's been there your whole life. This conversation, we're just reminding you of something that already exists. And you just have to listen and let this emerge and start moving this out so the rest of the world can experience it. It's a tremendous gift what's within you, and we want you to let the world hear this and see this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Thank you so much for your time. Uh, can you share a little bit about the upcoming workshop, the Art to Life platform, and how people can take?
Yes, yes. So I shared this process that we that we walk people through. It's called the Creative Visionary Program, and this is a 12-week program. It's it right now, I think when this podcast comes out, we're in the enrollment stage. So I'm just making sure that I have it. The website for this is Art Life CVP, like cat. Well, it's CVP. It's the Creative Visionary Program, and it's a framework, and we move people through this so they can start to uncover what it is that they can get excited about. This is the only way, and we have thousands of people that have gone through this program, and they've created careers, and their work's blown up, and it's a really amazing process. So definitely check it out and watch some of those videos that we'll be sharing this week. We're doing a whole kind of outreach, so if you go to that website, and you can learn all about it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nicholas. And we hope people find some amazing learnings from this episode. And make sure you check out the Creative Visionary Program, and we'll list all the details in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you. It's an honor.